Ever felt a chilling unease creep over you, like an unseen force sapping your joy right after a big win? Have you ever felt an inexplicable unease, as if an invisible shadow were draining your energy? Have you noticed that, just after sharing good news or achieving a dream, something inside you shifts and an unexpected emotional burden overwhelms you? This is not a coincidence. Envy is one of the most destructive negative energies. We cannot see it, but we feel it, like an invisible wind that weakens our spiritual and emotional strength without us knowing exactly what is happening. The most dangerous thing is that its effects can disguise themselves as stress, fatigue, or bad luck. Got a hunch envy's draining you? Comment, break free, and subscribe to learn more. Drop a like to keep the positivity flowing, and don't miss the shocking reveal at the end. Father Pio could see what many ignored, the dark imprint that envy leaves on the soul. With his stigmata and mystical gifts, he identified subtle patterns in people who were victims of this destructive energy. He could perceive the weakened aura, diminished energy, and mental confusion that others' envy caused in his faithful. Throughout his ministry, he identified three unmistakable signs that reveal when someone is being strongly envied. Most shockingly, these signs appear in our daily lives, but we often attribute them to other causes. Have you ever wondered why you suddenly feel anxiety that seems to have no explanation? Why do you lose motivation for projects that once filled you with passion? Or why, without apparent reason, you doubt decisions you were once certain of? It may not be a coincidence, but the effect of envy that others project onto you. Today, we will delve into the spiritual wisdom that Father Pio shared with his closest followers. I will reveal the three signs that indicate you are a victim of strong envy. And, most importantly, you will learn the powerful prayers and practices that Father Pio himself taught to create an impenetrable spiritual shield. Imagine being able to pinpoint exactly when your difficulties come from external negative energies. Imagine having the spiritual tools to protect yourself effectively, recovering your inner peace and mental clarity. As Father Pio said, prayer is the best defense against the darts of envy. Pay close attention because the third sign is so subtle that most people never notice it. But when you discover it, you will understand many things in your life. If you feel that you constantly face inexplicable barriers in your path, this message might hold the answer you have been seeking. If you recognize that this knowledge has come to you at the precise moment, write in the comments, Father Pio, dispel the fog of envy that surrounds me. This simple action will establish an intention of protection as we uncover these revealing signs together. Envy is not merely a negative emotion. On the spiritual plane, according to Father Pio's teachings, it acts as an invasive force that seeks to destabilize those who are progressing on their path. It is a dark energy projected from the heart of the envier toward the light of the one who prospers. Father Pio described envy as invisible arrows that pierce our spiritual shield when we are not adequately protected. These arrows do not cause physical wounds but generate emotional, mental, and spiritual imbalances that can manifest as concrete symptoms in our daily lives. How does this spiritual mechanism work exactly? When someone directs envious thoughts toward us, they emit negative vibrations that interfere with our energy field. If our spiritual shield has cracks caused, for example, by neglecting our prayer life, these energies can penetrate and begin to manifest as the three signs we will soon reveal. Father Pio explained that envy is particularly powerful when it comes from people close to us or those who pretend to want our good. Envy disguised as friendship, he said, is the most dangerous because it lowers our natural defenses. That is why we often feel bad after sharing good news with certain people without understanding why. The most concerning thing is that most people suffer the effects of envy without correctly identifying the cause. They seek solutions in medications, changes of environment, or therapies that, while beneficial, do not address the spiritual root of the problem. It is like trying to fix a leaky roof without identifying where the main crack is. Allow me to share the story of Carmen, a devotee of Father Pio who experienced a remarkable transformation. For months, Carmen had suffered from insomnia and inexplicable anxiety. She consulted doctors and psychologists without finding lasting relief. One day, while visiting San Giovanni Rotondo, Father Pio told her, "Daughter, it is not your body that is sick, but your spiritual shield that is being attacked by the envy of those who do not accept your recent job promotion. Following the protective practices he taught her, Carmen recovered her inner peace within weeks. Now that we understand how envy operates on the spiritual plane, we are ready to explore the first revealing sign, that inexplicable anxiety that many confuse with health problems or stress, but has much deeper roots. First sign, inexplicable anxiety. The first revealing sign that Father Pio identified in people who were victims of strong envy is inexplicable anxiety. This is not the common anxiety we all experience in stressful situations. It is a deeper, more disconcerting sensation that appears without apparent reason and persists even when everything in our life seems to be in order. How does it manifest exactly? Imagine waking up in the middle of the night with a racing heart, without having had a nightmare, or feeling an oppression in your chest while doing everyday activities, as if an invisible hand were pressing against your sternum. You might notice that this sensation intensifies, especially at night when our spirit's natural defenses are lower, or after sharing good news with certain people. Father Pio had an extraordinary ability to detect this type of anxiety in his faithful. He often interrupted people in the confessional to ask, "Since when have you felt that weight in your chest that keeps you from sleeping?" The penitents were astonished because they had not mentioned this symptom. He explained that this anxiety was like a dark smoke surrounding the person, a product of envious energies directed at them. The crucial difference between common anxiety and that caused by envy is its persistent and illogical nature. It does not disappear when circumstances improve, nor does it fully respond to conventional relaxation techniques. Moreover, it is often accompanied by a sensation of being constantly watched or judged. In my experience accompanying Father Pio's devotees, I have encountered numerous cases like that of Roberto, a successful businessman who began experiencing inexplicable panic attacks just after opening his second store. Doctors found no physical cause, and anti-anxiety medications offered only temporary relief. What was revealing was that these episodes intensified specifically after meetings with certain colleagues who appeared to congratulate him on his success. Following Father Pio's teachings on spiritual protection, Roberto identified the source of these negative energies and managed to regain his emotional stability. Father Pio taught that this anxiety caused by envy first settles in our solar plexus, that area between the stomach and chest that the ancients considered the center of our emotions. From there it begins to spread, altering our sleep, digestion, and mental clarity. It is as if a spiritual fog begins to envelop us, hindering our connection with the divine. The solution he recommended begins with a specific protective prayer. He advised praying Psalm 91 every night before bed, visualizing a golden light sealing our energy field. This psalm, he explained, has been used for centuries as a spiritual shield against negative energies. Its words activate divine protection over our being. In Psalm 91, verse 1 and 2, it says, "He who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust." Additionally, he recommended a simple ritual. Place your right hand on your chest while reciting 3 times, "Blood and wounds of Christ, protect me from all envy and restore my inner peace." This invocation, according to Father Pio, establishes a direct link with divine protection, especially effective against anxiety caused by envy. It is important to understand that this inexplicable anxiety is often the first indication, the first crack through which negative energies begin to infiltrate our lives. Identifying it correctly allows us to act before more severe manifestations appear, such as the second sign we will explore next. If you have experienced this anxiety without apparent cause, especially after personal achievements or moments of happiness, you are likely perceiving the effects of envy. It is not a coincidence that you feel this discomfort. It is your spirit alerting you to negative influences trying to destabilize you. This anxiety caused by envy intensifies at specific moments that Father Pio identified with precision. According to his teachings, we become particularly vulnerable during periods of transition or growth, after a job promotion, when starting a new business, during a promising engagement, or after significant physical or spiritual healing. Father Pio explained that others' envy is like water-seeking cracks in our spiritual protection. These cracks open when we neglect our inner life, when pride seeps into our achievements, or when we prematurely share our blessings with people who do not vibrate at the same spiritual frequency as us. A technique Father Pio taught to transform this anxiety into inner peace was what he called the spiritual thermometer. It consists of taking a moment each night to assess your level of inner peace on a scale of 1 to 10. If you notice that this level has significantly decreased without apparent reason, especially after interacting with certain people, you are detecting the influence of envious energies. The practical exercise he recommended to identify the source of this anxiety is simple but powerful. Sit in silence with your eyes closed and ask yourself, when exactly did this feeling of unease begin? After sharing what news or with whom? Generally, your spiritual intuition will provide the answer, revealing specific situations or people linked to the onset of these symptoms. Father Pio used to say, "The envy of others cannot harm those who are clothed in prayer like armor." This powerful statement reminds us that, while we cannot control others' feelings, we can strengthen our spiritual protection so that those energies slide off without penetrating our being. Now allow me to guide you in a brief reflection. Have you noticed how this inexplicable anxiety appears just when you are about to take an important step in your life? How it seems to intensify when you share your joys with certain people? This is not a coincidence. The enemy of our peace uses others' envy as a tool to destabilize us just when we are advancing on our path. As you practice the protective prayers and apply the spiritual discernment I have shared, you will notice how this anxiety begins to dissipate. The fog lifts gradually, allowing you to perceive clearly which sensations belong to you and which are external influences. However, if envy persists and is not confronted spiritually, it will evolve into the second, deeper, and more disconcerting sign: the inexplicable desire to abandon everything you have worked for. This second sign is particularly dangerous because it can make you renounce the blessings God has placed in your path, mistaking spiritual attacks for personal decisions. Second sign, desire to abandon everything. The second revealing sign that Father Pio identified in people strongly envied is the sudden and inexplicable desire to abandon projects, relationships, or places they once deeply loved. This impulse to flee emerges as an invasive thought: I should leave everything and start over somewhere else. Or, maybe this path isn't for me after all. Unlike a natural change of interests or genuine reflection on life's direction, this desire has distinctive characteristics. It appears abruptly, contradicts long-held values and interests, and is accompanied by an irrational sense of urgency. Father Pio described it as a fog that clouds spiritual discernment, causing us to mistake external attacks for personal decisions. Spiritually, the mechanism is clear. Others' envy seeks to interrupt your divine mission, diverting you from the path where you are destined to flourish. When someone directs envious energies toward you, they try to create doubts about your vocation, relationship, or project precisely because that is where you can shine the most light. Father Pio faced this same spiritual attack when, during the most fruitful moments of his ministry, thoughts of abandoning San Giovanni Rotondo arose. He recognized these thoughts as external interference, not his true will. Divine inspirations bring peace, he explained, while the instigations of envy generate agitation and an urge to escape. This desire to flee is particularly deceptive because it disguises itself as a new inspiration or need for change. However, Father Pio taught us to distinguish it through a powerful image. True divine inspirations are like an anchored ship that moves with the waves but remains faithful to its course. To combat this second sign, Father Pio recommended a spiritual discernment exercise. When you feel the urge to abandon everything, sit in prayer and ask yourself, does this desire bring lasting peace or agitation? Did it arise after sharing my achievements with someone? Does it contradict commitments made in moments of spiritual clarity? The practical solution he offered is what he called the spiritual anchor ritual. It consists of placing both hands on your heart while slowly reciting, "Jesus, I trust in you," as a firm anchor in the storm. Fix my spirit in your divine will. Then visualize roots descending from your feet into the ground, anchoring you firmly where God has planted you. Father Pio emphasized the importance of perseverance when facing this sign. Remaining where God has placed you, especially when invisible forces try to displace you, is an act of heroic faith, he taught. This spiritual resistance strengthens your protective shield, and eventually causes negative energies to rebound, returning to their source. A specific prayer he recommended for these moments was, "By the wounds of Christ and the intercession of Saint Michael the Archangel, may my purpose remain firm against all interference. May I clearly discern between your voice, my Lord, and the influences that seek to divert me from my path." This invocation should be repeated daily, especially at dawn when our spirit is most receptive. If you have recently experienced an inexplicable desire to abandon a significant project, a valuable relationship, or a place where you have found purpose, it is very likely you are facing this second sign of envy. Do not make drastic decisions in this state. First, strengthen your spiritual protection and recover the clarity that envy seeks to cloud. This desire to flee provoked by envy manifests in recognizable patterns that Father Pio identified with precision. The affected person begins to devalue recent achievements, finds faults where they once saw blessings, and experiences constant restlessness that prevents them from enjoying the present. Father Pio noted that this sign intensifies particularly after receiving public recognition, job promotions, or visible blessings. It is as if the visibility of our progress attracts envious gazes more intensely. That is why many people experience this desire to abandon everything precisely when they are reaping the fruits of their efforts. In daily life, this sign manifests in thoughts like, "I should sell the business I just established. Maybe I should end this relationship that seems so promising." Or, "I need to move far away, even though I have no clear reason." What is revealing is that these thoughts directly contradict plans and decisions previously made with peace and discernment. To strengthen your spirit against this influence, Father Pio taught a powerful visualization technique. Imagine your project, relationship, or place as a tree you have planted with dedication. Visualize its roots deepening into the earth, its trunk strengthening, and its branches reaching toward the sky. Then imagine a golden light shield completely surrounding this tree, protecting it from all negative influences. To discern whether you truly need to make a change or are under the influence of envy, Father Pio recommended these key questions. Does this desire for change bring inner peace or agitation? Did the idea arise abruptly, or has it matured with time and prayer? Have I recently shared my achievements with people who might feel envy? Does this decision honor commitments made in moments of spiritual clarity? The story of Antonio illustrates this sign perfectly. After successfully opening his medical practice, he began to feel an inexplicable urge to abandon medicine, despite it being his lifelong vocation. These thoughts arose just after a colleague visited his new office. Applying Father Pio's teachings, Antonio recognized this urge as an external influence, strengthened his spiritual protection, and clarity returned. Today, he continues to practice his vocation with renewed purpose. If you have resisted this second sign, a subtler and more penetrating challenge awaits: constant doubts that seek to undermine your confidence and determination. Third sign: constant and paralyzing doubts. The third and most penetrating sign that you are a victim of strong envy, according to Father Pio's teachings, is constant and paralyzing doubts. This sign is particularly insidious because it directly attacks your spiritual discernment and inner confidence. We are not talking about the normal doubts everyone occasionally experiences. Doubts caused by envy have distinctive characteristics. They are persistent, irrational, and contradictory. For example, you may simultaneously doubt whether you are doing too much or too little in a given situation, without finding a satisfying balance. Father Pio explained that envy acts on our mind like a thick fog that distorts our perception. Others' envy, he said, first tries to cloud your mind so you cannot distinguish God's voice from external interference. This mental confusion manifests as constant internal questioning that paralyzes action and drains spiritual energy. The most characteristic feature of these doubts is that they appear especially in areas where you previously had clarity and certainty. A person who always trusted their intuition begins to question it constantly. Someone clear about their vocation starts wondering if they are truly on the right path. Decisions you once made with confidence now plunge you into endless internal deliberations. On the spiritual plane, Father Pio explained that these doubts are like invasive seeds planted in our mental garden by envious energies. If we allow them to germinate, they grow into thorny bushes that block divine light and our ability to discern. To illustrate this concept, Father Pio used the analogy of the mental garden. Your mind is like a sacred garden where God plants inspirations, intuitions, and certainties. Envy scatters seeds of doubt in this garden, hoping you mistake them for your own thoughts. Spiritual discernment is the art of recognizing which plants truly belong in your garden and which are invasive. How do you distinguish between healthy questioning and doubts provoked by envy? Father Pio taught that healthy doubts lead to greater understanding and eventually peace, while doubts originating from envy generate increasing confusion, anxiety, and spiritual paralysis. The solution he recommended for this third sign was what he called the novena of confidence and clarity. For 9 consecutive days, preferably at dawn, recite with deep conviction, Lord, in you I trust fully. Illuminate my mind, clarify my inner vision, and dispel all confusion that does not come from you. This act of trust, repeated, strengthens what Father Pio called the muscle of faith, the ability to stand firm even when we cannot see clearly. Additionally, he advised a simple but powerful practice. Whenever a paralyzing doubt assails you, trace a small, invisible cross on your forehead while saying internally, clear mind, firm heart, protected spirit. This symbolic gesture acts as a spiritual switch that cuts off the flow of invasive thoughts. This third sign of envy is often the hardest to recognize precisely because it affects our discernment capacity. That is why many people do not connect their sudden indecision or mental confusion with external spiritual influences, attributing them to fatigue or even questioning their own mental capacity. If you have recently experienced an avalanche of doubts in areas where you previously had clarity, especially after sharing goals or projects with others, you are likely perceiving this third sign of envy. To restore mental clarity when under attack by these persistent doubts, Father Pio left us specific techniques that directly combat this manifestation of envy. The most effective is what he called the exercise of the three truths. Every morning before starting your activities, write on a piece of paper 3 fundamental truths about yourself, your purpose, or your current situation. They can be as simple as, I have the talent needed for this project, God has confirmed this vocation through multiple signs, or this relationship brings positive fruits to my life. Keep this paper with you, and whenever doubts try to infiltrate, read it aloud quietly, reaffirming these central truths that envy seeks to cloud. Father Pio specifically advised those under this type of spiritual attack to temporarily limit conversations about future plans or important projects. When the mind is under siege, he explained, we must protect our inspirations as one protects a flame from the wind until it burns strongly again. This does not mean isolating yourself, but being prudent about with whom you share your visions while recovering mental clarity. A visual metaphor Father Pio used to help those suffering mental confusion from envy was that of a lighthouse in the fog. He instructed us to visualize our faith as a powerful lighthouse whose light penetrates even the densest fog. Doubts may surround your mind like fog surrounds a lighthouse, he said, but they cannot extinguish its light if you keep the flame of faith and trust in God burning. One of Father Pio's most profound insights on this topic was recorded when he said, faith is not the absence of doubts, but the decision to keep moving forward despite them. This perspective frees us from the paralysis envy seeks to provoke, allowing us to continue our path even as we work to dispel confusion. To strengthen this spiritual resistance, he recommended repeating daily, though I do not see the entire path, I trust in the one who does. My trust in God is more powerful than any doubt sown in my mind. Father Pio's integrated protection system. Now that you have learned to identify and counteract the 3 main signs of envy, in inexplicable anxiety, the desire to flee, and constant doubts, you are ready to learn the integrated protection system Father Pio developed to create a complete spiritual shield. The 3 signs of envy we have analyzed do not operate in isolation. Father Pio taught that they form part of a systematic attack on our spiritual stability. That is why he developed an integrated protection method that simultaneously addresses the 3 fronts: emotional, volitional, and intellectual. This protection system combines specific prayers, visualizations, and daily practices that, when applied consistently, create what Father Pio called a 3-dimensional shield against envy. The key to its effectiveness lies precisely in addressing the 3 dimensions where envy seeks to infiltrate. The complete method is structured as follows. In the morning, upon waking, we establish our emotional protection against inexplicable anxiety. With your right hand on your heart, recite, "By the blood of Christ and the intercession of Father Pio, I seal my emotional field against all negative influences. Divine peace governs my feelings today." This prayer sets a filter that distinguishes between our authentic emotions and those induced by external energies. At midday, we reinforce our volitional protection against the desire to flee. With both hands in a prayer position, declare, "I confirm my commitment to the divine purpose for my life. By Father Pio's wounds, my decisions remain firm against all interference. Where God has planted me, there I will flourish." This affirmation strengthens our will against the impulses to abandon that envy seeks to generate. At night before sleeping, we complete the shield with intellectual protection against constant doubts. Tracing a small cross on your forehead, recite, "Divine light dispels all confusion from my mind. My discernment remains clear, and my trust unshakable. By Father Pio's intercession, I recognize and reject all doubt that does not come from God." This practice purifies our mind of invasive thoughts while we sleep, when we are most vulnerable. The visualization accompanying this complete ritual is what Father Pio described as the golden crystal shield. We must imagine a crystalline energy field with golden hues completely enveloping our being. This shield is transparent, allowing us to interact normally with the world, but it blocks the negative vibrations of envy. Father Pio assured that consistent practice of this integrated system not only protects us, but eventually transforms the negative energies directed at us. Envy that bounces off a well-constructed spiritual shield, he explained, returns to its source transformed into light, contributing to the spiritual healing of the envier. The promise of transformation accompanying this method is powerful. After 21 days of consistent application, most people experience a remarkable recovery of their inner peace, mental clarity, and emotional stability. The envious energies that once wreaked havoc on their well-being now encounter an impenetrable shield. As we reflect on Father Pio's profound teachings about the insidious nature of envy and the spiritual tools he gifted us to combat it, we're reminded of a timeless truth. Our inner peace and purpose are sacred treasures worth protecting. The journey through the three signs of envy, intractable anxiety, the sudden urge to abandon our dreams, and paralyzing doubts, has shown us that what we often dismiss as personal struggles may in fact be external spiritual attacks. Father Pio's wisdom, rooted in faith and resilience, offers not just a defense, but a transformative path forward. His teachings resonate deeply in today's fast-paced, comparison-driven American culture, where social media amplifies envy and success often attracts silent resentment. The lesson here is clear. We must be vigilant stewards of our spiritual and emotional well-being, equipping ourselves with prayer, discernment, and intentional practices to shield our hearts from negative energies. Applying Father Pio's integrated protection system, morning prayers to guard our emotions, midday affirmations to anchor our will, and nightly rituals to clear our minds, can become a daily rhythm that strengthens us against life's challenges. Imagine starting each day in a bustling city like New York or a quiet suburb in Texas, reciting, "By the blood of Christ I seal my emotional field," and feeling a tangible sense of peace amid the chaos. Or picture yourself in a high-stakes meeting in Silicon Valley, silently affirming, "Where God has planted me, there I will flourish," to resist the temptation to abandon a hard-won project. These practices aren't just spiritual exercises. They're practical tools for navigating the pressures of modern life, from workplace rivalries to personal milestones shared online. Father Pio's emphasis on discernment, asking, "Does this thought bring peace or agitation?" is a game changer. It's like having a mental filter to separate our true calling from the noise of envy. Whether it's a colleague's subtle jab or a friend's backhanded compliment. In a culture that celebrates hustle and achievement, we often overlook how envy, even from those closest to us, can erode our confidence. Father Pio's advice to limit sharing our plans with those who don't vibrate at our spiritual frequency is a reminder to choose our confidants wisely, fostering relationships that uplift rather than undermine. His visualization of the golden crystal shield is particularly powerful in a world where we're bombarded by external judgments. Picture walking through a crowded mall or scrolling through Instagram, enveloped in a radiant shield that deflects negativity while letting your light shine. This imagery empowers us to stay grounded in our purpose, whether we're chasing a career in Los Angeles or raising a family in the Midwest. The story of Carmen, who reclaimed her peace after Father Pio's guidance, mirrors countless American stories of overcoming unseen obstacles through faith. It's a call to action to prioritize our spiritual health as diligently as we do our physical or mental wellness. Think of it as soul care alongside gym workouts or therapy sessions. Father Pio's promise that 21 days of consistent practice can restore clarity and stability is an invitation to commit to small, intentional steps. In a society that values quick fixes, this disciplined approach teaches us patience and trust in divine timing. The broader lesson is one of empowerment. We can't control others' envy, but we can control how we respond, turning attacks into opportunities for growth. This aligns with the American spirit of resilience. Think of pioneers forging new paths or entrepreneurs rebounding from setbacks. By embracing Father Pio's teachings, we cultivate a faith-driven grit that transforms challenges into stepping stones. So let's take this wisdom into our daily lives. Start tonight with Psalm 91. Visualize that golden shield and ask yourself, what's one area where envy might be clouding my clarity? Share your reflections with a trusted friend or journal them to solidify your commitment. If this message has stirred something in you, join the thousands of Father Pio's devotees, forming a global spiritual network. Let's amplify this transformative wisdom together. If you've recognized one of the three signs in your life or felt inspired by Father Pio's shield of faith, hit that like button to spread this light. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Maybe a friend facing unexplained doubts or a family member feeling drained. Subscribe to our channel for more insights to strengthen your spiritual journey, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Finally, drop a comment below with, I've recognized sign number 1, 2, or 3, or share how you plan to apply Father Pio's teachings. Your story could inspire someone else to break free from envy's grip. Together, let's build a community of faith, resilience, and protection, honoring Father Pio's legacy by living with clear minds, firm hearts, and protected spirits. May his intercession guide you, and may peace guard your path every step of the way.